Chapter 31. Heartbreak. Eckhart gets in touch with his sensitive side and makes a discovery. Eckhart, having been summoned to his mother's presence, had punctually arrived that afternoon to his old home with a bouquet of vibrant yellow liaise flowers. He'd specifically chosen those flowers as the most suitable to give to his mother, not only because they would complement the seasonal decor at home, and their scent was at their peak of loveliness, or so Lord Vicentius, his main flower purveyor, had told him with great enthusiasm. But yellow liases also signified filial devotion, and the dried flower petals had calming properties when drunk as a tea. He made the mistake of telling his mother as much when he presented his bouquet, and Lady Elvira's dark eyes crinkled in amusement. "I didn't know my son had become such a keen scholar. Are the rumors about you wanting to become a horticulturist true? Or should I believe the gossip I heard at my last tea party, that you're so besotted with Myne that you're spending your fortune on flowers and lavish gifts for her?" Eckhart held back a sigh. He was never one to give a damn about what people thought of him, or what they said behind his back. Soon after he started serving Lord Ferdinand, he had learned that it was best that he ignore what other people whispered. People never understood, and he wasn't going to justify himself to them, ever. As far as he was concerned, he only needed to justify his actions to himself and his lord, and everyone else could go pray to Verdrouse. However, he couldn't say the same when it came to his mother, could he?
Lord Vicentius is very eager to share all that he knows with anyone who will listen.
He explained.
And since I am now a regular of his, he now wants me to share his passion for plants.
Eckhart was only a knight, and his job was to hone his instincts and sharpen his blades for the sake of protecting those he had vowed to protect. He was no scholar, and had no interest in pondering the meaning of flowers. However, Lord Vicentius was not of the same view. The elderly lord had gone so far as to scold him when Eckhart had made a vague request for flowers.
"What kind of flower?"
Lord Vicentius had asked, peering up at him in an owl-like manner through his thick spectacles.
"Who is it intended for? Is it for decorating a space, or to be worn with a garment? Does the recipient have an ailment? What is their birth season? Their age? Does this person like simplicity, or use lots of colors in their clothing and decor? Give me something, man."
Any flower is fine, as good as another, I guess.
Eckhart had replied with a careless shrug.
All that matters to me is that we are pretty and smell nice.
Well, that had caused Lord Vicentius to go off on the first of many lectures. Dang it, I should have written the lecture that way Fergie could have read it. He had told Eckhart that flowers and plants had deeper meanings, and that most of them had properties that would make either beautiful gifts or dangerous tools of harassment. As a result of many such lectures, Eckhart had ended up learning more and more about the plants. More than most knights, for sure. "Please do not misunderstand," his mother said, smiling down at the bouquet of flowers in her hands. "Surrounded as I am by men who jump at the chance to slay and dismember things, it would be nice to have a follower of Miss Leonora to chat with sometimes."
Mother.
Eckhart groaned, knowing his mother was only teasing him. Lady Elvira laughed a motherly chuckle before softening her eyes. "Relax, I speak only in jest. Besides, I'll have mine. Just one of her makes up for me having 3 nights at home. Come, sit. Let's have tea while we're both free. I have some new recipes I'd like you to try out." After settling onto his chair, he took his tea and nibbled on cookies as he dutifully listened to his mother chatter about the usual, his brothers, his father, and other small gossip. It was just the same thing as usual, nothing that merited an urgent summons, and Eckhart began to tune her out after a while. He would have much preferred to continue training the newest batch of young apprentice knights over at the castle training grounds. As the years went by, it became painfully evident that each new generation was in more need of training than the last. What were they teaching them at the Royal Academy? Even his own father had his hands full training his men in preparation for the winter hunt. Apparently, based on the Fey Beast slayings in the north this year, the Lord of Winter was probably going to be very difficult to defeat. And so, I thought it would be best if you were the one to give it to her, his mother said, sliding a small, long box toward him and interrupting his train of thought. Eckhart blinked.
Pardon?
His mother gave him a look. Were you not listening all this time? She tapped the top of the polished box with her fingertip. Here, be sure to tell Myne to bring it to the tea party. It will help her. At her prompting, Eckhart opened the slender box and arched an eyebrow at the contents.
Why don't you just give it to her yourself?
His mother looked down. I have a long way to go before your goddess of water ever comes to trust me again. I doubt she would receive this gift if I gave it to her myself, so I am asking you to please make her understand I am on her side. She need not be so guarded. Eckhart could not help but sigh.
Mother, she capitulated because she was basically forced to. And she almost lost many friends because of it. What more can you expect from her? It's going to take more than a pretty trinket to make her like you again.
His mother looked away, and her chin took on a stubborn set. I mean to make it up to her, and I will. This is a start. She crossed her arms and tilted her chin haughtily. And I'll have you know, I haven't even given one to Dolores, you ingrate. Eckhart took the box with mixed feelings. He had a vague idea what such a gift from his mother would mean in the eyes of the world, and he wasn't sure it was a good idea to send out that message yet. But it would help Myne, especially in the next tea party.
Very well. I'll give it to her and see her tonight. But be warned, Cornelius won't be happy about you snubbing his fiancée in favor of my mistress.
His mother smiled at him in a manner that reminded him that she was not a woman to be trifled with. Leave your brother and his little friends to me. I get to choose who I will take under my wing, and whom I will make my successor. Not Cornelius, not Karsted, not even you. I do. Though it had been a fair morning, it rained throughout the afternoon and into the evening, but Eckhart still made it to Myne's at the usual hour, with flowers on hand. Myne's mondelians, pink, plump, and sparkling from the rain, signified fleeting affection, which was why Lord Vicentius had looked aghast when Eckhart had picked those flowers from among all the others. But Eckhart had assured him he was not picking them for the meaning. They had a wonderful scent, and seeing them had reminded him of the pink and white dress Myne had worn in the evening when she and he had had a vigil under the stars, and they had prayed together at dawn. In any case, Myne didn't seem to know or care about what the flowers meant.
I adore mondelianness,
Myne said in raptures as she received his bouquet, and then she laughed when she looked up at him.
but I don't understand. Why don't you just come in a carriage when it rains?
What? You don't like my new hairstyle?
Eckhart chuckled, shaking water out of his hair. He had prioritized his clothes when using the moisture-wicking tool that Feline had provided him, and his dark green hair would be considered a disgrace had he shown up like that to dinner anywhere else. But Myne never seemed to make a fuss like his mother or any other noble woman would have. He liked that about her.
Your hair is fine. I'm just worried you'll catch a cold. Come and warm yourself by the fire,
Myne said, as she had one of her attendants pour him his favorite vise. Eckhart sat upon the comfortable padded chair and took the drink.
Aren't you having one too?
She smiled and sat in the chair in front of his as she admired the rain-drenched bouquet he'd brought her.
I will. Later, though.
Eckhart nodded and took a sip from his drink, enjoying the pleasant burn of the fine Dunkelfelger drink as it went down, only realizing belatedly that Myne hadn't taken a sip to show that it wasn't poisoned. He almost panicked at the thought that she could be poisoning him at this very moment. But reason soon caught up to instinct and he relaxed.
There is absolutely no way Myne would ever harm anyone, least of all me.
The thought was a little jarring. When was the last time that he, who was so hyper-vigilant against poisoning attacks, had ever let himself trust anyone like that?
You look like how I imagine you must have looked in your apprentice days.
Myne said, motioning to his hair, blissfully ignorant about how his world had just fundamentally shifted under him.
But all the other times you're so put together and dignified.
Are you saying I look odd?
Old.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Are you saying I look old?
Eckhart said, chasing away thoughts of poison and danger and instead feigning outrage.
No!
She laughed.
But there is a boyish charm about how you look with your hair like that. It kind of makes me wonder how Lord Ferdinand must have looked like in his academy days.
Eckhart thought back to the past and those days when they had all shared in the Royal Academy.
He pretty much looked the same as he does now, except with long hair. He usually kept it braided and out of the way, though.
Myne looked surprised.
Really? I can't even imagine that.
Uh-huh.
He nodded.
Lord Sylvester wanted for them both to match, so Lord Ferdinand grew out his hair at his request.
I wish I could have seen that. He must have been quite a heartbreaker.
Heart what?
Oh,
Myne smiled and looked a little embarrassed.
it's an expression that means
She put her finger on her chin thoughtfully.
I suppose it just means that many women must have delighted in spring over him. Also, it is an expression that is used when the recipient doesn't reciprocate the feeling and your heart hurts so bad you'll feel like you're breaking inside.
Eckhart wondered at that strange phrase. Honestly, it didn't make much sense for the arrival of Bluanfa to be likened to the breaking of the heart, but he figured that it was a commoner phrase.
Well, none of them came close to being suitable for him. If mana didn't match, then it was the status. If only ever came close at once.
It only
I'm
ever
sorry.
came
Let
close.
let me reread that part. It only ever came close once, and that vixen went and ran off to marry one of our professors rather than enter an engagement with Lord Ferdinand.
Myne said nothing at that, and looked at the fire pensively. The silence stretched on, and while it wasn't uncomfortable, it reminded Eckhart of what his mother had said, and what Justus's keen observational skills had confirmed.
Myne's heart delights in spring for Lord Ferdinand.
Eckhart thought about asking. It was a reasonable question. She was his mistress, after all. But this time, instinct overruled reason, and he decided against asking. In any case, Fran announced that dinner was ready, and so he stood and offered to escort Myne to the dining room. Dinner was scrumptious, of course, prompting him to tease Myne over their meal by saying he'd yet steal Ella away from her somehow. Myne reminded him, as she always did, that Ella was under contract and could not share or make the recipes Myne invented without her express permission, so he'd just waste his time and money. Still, Myne always looked happy whenever he complimented the food, so he always lavished on the praise. Not that he did it because his gratitude earned him extra goodies to take home, though it was an added benefit. After dessert, they retired to the small parlor where they usually had their post-dinner drinks. In the early days, Myne used to perform the harpspiel for him after dinner. But when he realized that she didn't entirely enjoy playing the harpspiel so much as she pretended to, he suggested they talk instead. It became painfully apparent that, if given the chance, she'd talk non-stop about books. But he didn't really mind, and that had somehow led to them reading out loud to each other after dinner. However, that evening Eckhart gave Myne the slender box that contained a gift from his mother. Myne's face had tensed a bit when he said who it was from, but she had nevertheless thanked him politely and opened the box. To say she looked shocked at seeing the expensive blue, green, and gold fan with his mother's emblem on it would be an understatement. She literally went pale.
Eckhart, this is not one of your mother's fans, is it?
It is. You are to meet Dolores soon, and my mother wants to make sure she and her friends don't bully you anymore. Not when you have her full approval. And I've made sure to take care of Cornelius for you. He'll never so much as glance at you. Let me restart that one. He'll never so much as glance your way without being afraid after I'll break every bone in his body if he disrespects you again.
Myne looked alarmed at his words. He exhaled.
I keep telling you, I'm your protector. I am responsible for you. And I mean to do what I can to ease your way in society, Myne. Who cares that whatever anyone thinks? As to my mother,
He paused and shrugged.
you'll find as time goes by that no one can ever tell her what she can or cannot do. She likes you, and this is her way of making up for the past.
Myne looked down at the box and ran a delicate fingertip along the intricately decorated fan with a pensive look on her face. Eckhart did not really understand women's fashions, but even he knew that for the past 4 years, the ladies all over Ehrenfest, and many other duchies, including the sovereignty now, had adopted the custom of using fans. As far as he understood, it was a gift ladies gave to each other to signify deep affection and friendliness. When ladies had matching fans, it was the ultimate sign that they were as close as sisters. Or so he understood from the Kingdom of Kellerland stories Myne had gotten him hooked on.
I suppose this is preferable to me crushing your brother's wench to remind her to never again steal my books,
She said, sounding a little disappointed.
Wow, she used the word wench?
Wench. Hey, she messed with her books, okay? Eckhart
I'll show her.
Right? Eckhart nodded solemnly. He totally understood where she was coming from. One shouldn't be too quick to forgive and forget. But...
Well, you'd be well within your rights and power to crush her. I think this approach might be better for you in the long run.
Yes. Plus, I doubt that she'll be overtly disrespectful once I flaunt your mother's fan in her face. Thought that just means I will have to pull her to my side through other means as well.
She chuckled lightly as she closed the box and placed it on the small side table.
Your mother is formidable indeed. Remind me to never ever get on her bedside. Now enough of that. We're almost done with volume 5, and it is your turn to read.
They sat side by side on the couch in front of the fire, as was now their custom. An attendant lit a lamp on the side table to illuminate the pages for Eckhart, while another added another log of slow-burning hardwood to the fire. Once they were settled, Eckhart opened the book at the marker and read out loud the final chapters of the book. It was a charming adventure story that Eckhart had grown to enjoy quite a lot, and soon he was totally immersed in the tale as he read. The autumn rain drummed against the window panes, providing a calming atmosphere, and Myne's eyes grew heavier as time passed, and by the time the king's son had slain the giant fire-breathing lizard and returned home triumphant at the end of the volume, Myne was sound asleep, leaning against him and breathing softly. It was the first time Eckhart had ever seen her under the influence of Schlaftraum, and for a second he didn't know what to do. Bran approached him, and it seemed he intended to wake his mistress, but Eckhart held up a hand.
Let her sleep. I'll carry her upstairs,
He said in hushed tones. Bran nodded once, hiding any surprise he might have felt, and led the way upstairs. Myne's attendants were already prepared to receive their mistress when he entered Myne's chamber. He smiled a bit when he saw that the pink Mondelianis he'd brought her today were on the side table next to her bed, perfuming the room with their fragrance. He even spotted the Veniminias and the Yandewals he'd brought her a few nights ago. Lord Vicentius had not approved of him choosing the flowers, since they meant Jurgeris's dance is imminent, and felicitations on receiving Ertrindrage's blessing, respectively. But they were really pretty, and the scent of both flowers had calming properties. No wonder her room smelled so nice. He carefully deposited Myne in the bed, and she stirred, looking as if she was about to wake up. But she didn't. She simply sunk deeper into her pillows and covers, looking for all the world like a warm, tiny creature curled up on its burrow. She heaved a contented sigh, and as she did, she murmured a name that made his blood run cold. He looked up at Rosina, as if to confirm what he'd just heard. Myne's attendant said nothing. Instead, she glanced up at him and thanked him for his help, with a smile that did not falter or break under his scrutiny. But her eyes did not lie. They were pools of sorrow. Eckhart straightened, and for a few moments he quietly looked down at his sleeping water goddess, while his mind reeled. All the times she'd wept, and all the times she had said she'd felt sad, all the clues and signs he'd missed because he'd not paid attention. Suddenly they all connected and made perfect sense. Myne was desperately and hopelessly— what was the word she had taught him earlier? Oh yes, heartbroken. End of chapter.
Yep, she's heartbroken.
Yep. And a note, thank you to JC Fergie for proofreading this chapter. Thanks.
I get the feeling someone else's heart is starting to break a little bit.
Maybe. I don't know. They're just...
those flowers are like the equivalent to like those very specific cards, like Happy Carpenter's Day to give someone for their 10th birthday or something.
Yeah, so the flowers, they all have really specific meanings. Of course, Eckhart, he doesn't care. He's like, flower, pretty, smells nice here.
I'm with Eckhart because I don't understand this so-called language of flowers.
Well, thank goodness that Myne isn't picky. I mean, she's never really had anybody as Urano or as Myne give her flowers, so she's kind of like enjoying the flowers. She doesn't really know about them either, or really care. She does know, but she doesn't really care about them. She's just like, cool, cute, pretty, thank you. So we got...
I'm trying to think if at any point in the story did you mention that like the whole giving flowers is ever like made fun of, that like the other meaning, like the whole thing of giving flowers.
Oh, that giving flowers. Oh, no,
Did you mention it at any point?
I didn't mention about, or wait, giving flowers, the literal kind, not the euphemistic kind.
Yeah,
Yes, somewhere in there.
I'm just thinking
Yes.
if you made the joke
I
ever.
did. I think it was a Justus point of view, I think. But he was I did just do a full work search. It's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm pretty sure it's one of the earlier chapters. I think it's chapter 5 with the Justus POV. Anyway, so we got chapter 31 done. Again, just kind of balancing wholesomeness with a little bit of feelings. Trying to think of what other activities people might do when there's no TV, no games, no computer. There's just music, drinking, books, probably tabletop games, cards. So, they're finding out what works for them. He knows now that Myne doesn't really care to play the Harpspiel, so, So, speaking of kinda melancholic chapters, we have one, a Ferdinand POV next, and there's no dialogue in this one. It's pretty short, so I'm gonna just delve straight into it. And chapter 32, The Girl. Ferdinand POV. Over at the temple, Ferdinand finally reached a good point where he could stop for the day. He sighed, dismissed all but his head attendant, and after putting away his work, he stretched and extinguished the lamp at his desk. After a bath and after changing into sleeping clothes, he settled into his bed and closed his eyes expectantly. Would he dream of her again? Would he get to see the girl with the luminous gold eyes and the glistening midnight hair? Last time, they'd been riding his high beast together over a glistening body of water that could not have been anything other than the ocean. Impossible, for he would never be caught dead in Arensback. But somehow in his dreams it had all made perfect sense. Just in the same way that holding the mysterious girl close against his body as they soared high over the sky had made perfect sense. So he knew that he simply had to accept rather than question what he was seeing. Still, he had so many questions that needed answered. Maybe this time he'd get to ask them. Thunder rolled overhead, and soon Ferdinand was swept into Schlaftrum's embrace, to another world and another weeb. And yes, there she was, the girl who was, and yet who wasn't, his beloved. The girl called Rosamine. End of chapter.
Rosebud.
So, yeah, the dreams in the canon, but now we finally get proper confirmation that he knows it's Rosamine, but we don't quite understand what it's all about. You guys will understand later, hopefully. But yeah, just a little glimpse into what Ferdinand's doing. They're both having dreams of canon, though. Like both Myne and Ferdinand are having canon dreams at this point in the story.
Well, I think a lot of people are kind of influenced by the canon because it seems that Elvira is very drawn to Myne, almost like she enjoys having this brand new daughter who she has never had.
And let's not forget Hartmut.
Oh yes, I think there was a meme somewhere, the crushing masochist.
Yeah.
Yes, it's somewhere in there. I don't have it on hand, but yeah, somebody did make a Hartmut meme. So let's go on to chapter 33. I told you chapter 32 was super short. There it is. So let's do the next one. Chapter 33, it's titled Velvet and Steel. It's a Myne point of view, and the summary is simply Myne attends a tea party. It was a glorious Earth Day, blessed by the golden light of Shutsaria's abundant grace, that found Myne sitting in a garden pavilion at the Linkberg's estate with 3 women. The porcelain dishes clinked delicately as they drank their tea, while bees buzzed faintly among the autumnal rose-like flowers, called, why did I do this to myself? Called bluthimiels, that grew in great profusion around them. Can I read that sentence again? Yes.
Nope.
The porcelain dishes clinked delicately as they drank their tea, while bees buzzed faintly among the autumnal rose-like flowers called bluthimiels, that grew in great profusion around them. Lady Elvira's musicians strummed their harpspiel off to the side, and Myne couldn't help but smile nostalgically at the tune, for she had, quote-unquote, composed and published it during her time at the temple. And even here in this new world, it seemed that Pachelbel's canon in D was doomed to be overly loved to the point of being overplayed. It was a peaceful scene, like something out of a fairy tale book. Still, that didn't mean that Myne was entirely at ease in the superficially genteel tea party. Just like the song, the conversation going on was trite and superficial, and there was nothing really new about it other than rehashing old gossip and family news. There was just a show, and everyone attending knew it. The 2 sitting at her left and her right were the most important members of Ehrenfest Women's Society. The first wife of Ob Ehrenfest, Lady Florencia, and Eckhart's mother, Lady Elvira. Myne personally didn't trust them entirely. As far as she was concerned, they were business partners, but not friends. She knew she must not let down her guard, especially since sitting across from Myne was a familiar young woman, Lady Dolores. Judging by the fact that her riot of dark girls was yet to be worn up, her nemesis was still not yet of age. Nevertheless, she held herself with the natural haughtiness expected of an archnoble, somehow managing to smile and talk through this farce of a tea party, while at the same time glaring daggers at Myne. There was death in those eyes of hers. When they had greeted each other earlier, Myne had flagrantly waved Lady Elvira's fan in the girl's face, as she had been instructed to. Lady Elvira's fan meant to caution Dolores and keep her in check. But rather than having a cowing effect on the girl, it had only made the flames of hostility in those fierce eyes burn even stronger. But Myne was not afraid. In fact, she was affronted that this kid who had dared to desecrate her precious salon still showed no sign of remorse for what she'd done. Oh, they had a score to settle, and they would settle it by the gods. No one could ever get away from disrespecting her books or stealing from her business. Myne smiled primly and addressed the 3 ladies sitting with her.
This is a cake that my personal cook made just for you. Charlotte cake filled with Tanier mousse. It's never been served anywhere else before.
A Charlotte cake, you say?
Lady Florencia said, looking at the round, cream-topped cake with interest.
Do you mean to say this cake has the same name as my daughter?
Myne nodded.
Indeed. We corresponded as friends some years ago, and this dessert commemorates our renewed friendship.
It was not true that she had named the cake after Charlotte, of course. It was just a happy coincidence that the cake she served them was originally called the Charlotte cake in her old world, but who was to know anyway? Feline served her, and Myne took a bite, indicating that others could also try it. As she'd expected, everyone's eyes widened at the cool sensation of the mousse in their mouth. Even Lady Dolores's hostile eyes went wide with delight, before she caught herself and shuttered her expression behind lowered eyes. My! Lady Elvira exclaimed. This is wonderful!
Whipped cream served with as a beautiful compliment to the
Tanya.
Karen
Yeah.
Tanya. Tanya. Charlotte would love it. I'm sure.
Lady Florencia said, and then she smiled at Lady Dolores.
What do you think, Dolores? As Charlotte's retainer, do you not agree that my daughter would be delighted in this dessert? Perhaps, my lady.
Said Lady Dolores bitterly.
Though I have not heard her mention any particular inclination for Tanya's myself.
This cake can be adopted to other fruits depending on what's on season.
Myne replied with a smile.
Today I wanted to share something full of autumn flavors. Tanya mousse, poached pears in honey, wine, roasted nuts.
Elvira took another spoonful and sighed. If it weren't because you have already come to an agreement regarding the sale of your recipes, I would immediately pay whatever you ask for this dish. Cornelius adores Tannius, you know. He would be overjoyed if he could have this dish whenever he wanted. He'd probably come home more often if he knew we would be having this for him. He's such a hungry boy. Myne pretended not to notice that upon hearing this, Lady Dolores suddenly speared her with a predatory look.
Ah, yes. There was that one aristocrat who would always order various assortments of pastries back at the tea shop. Frida finally found out that the servant who came for the order was linked to this girl. I always wondered what she did with all those pastries. Mystery solved, I guess. Lord Cornelius must be a lot like Lord Eckhart in that respect, except with falfolds.
Myne said, capitalizing on her discovery.
My lord graces me regularly with his presence whenever I tell him my chef has prepared him fallowed tarts or cookies with fallowed jam. Sometimes I wonder how much of his devotion to me is due to my cook's talents.
Eckhart gave her a look that was almost motherly. The god of darkness has no...
Did you say Eckhart?
Sorry. Elvira, thank you. Elvira gave her a look that was almost motherly. The god of darkness has eyes for no one but his goddess of light, Myne. Quocola Karula. Coca-Calura. Coca-Calura is but a subordinate and can never compete against the light and beauty of the supreme goddess. Myne blinked, shocked at how warmly Lady Elvira regarded her relationship with Eckhart. Surely she was only saying this for show. There was no reason Lady Elvira was actually thinking of Myne and Eckhart marrying. Ridiculous thought.
If you'll permit me correcting your ladyship,
Myne said, trying to change the conversation.
regarding the selling of my recipes that only apply to my previous recipes, they are to be compiled in a cookbook soon. Any new ones I develop are mine to sell at my own discretion, though through the members of the Archducal family have first pick.
True.
Florencia nodded in agreement.
I myself don't see why anyone would not want to pay you whatever you want for these wonderful recipes. But do be sure to also include them in future book volumes. That was the deal. Don't forget.
I won't, my lady.
Myne nodded. The tea party continued on without much issue. Yet as time passed, Myne felt increasingly ill at ease. It wasn't because of Lady Dolores. There was nothing the girl could do to her with the backing of Lady Elvira and Lady Florencia, and she knew it well. No, it was something that Myne couldn't really explain, but she could feel eyes on her. It got so unbearable that after some time she hazarded a glance toward the house and saw a curtain on the second floor flicker slightly. She couldn't help but huff out a short laugh at how the feel of cold metals. Wait, what? Wait. Oh, wait. I missed this. I missed the slide. Hold on a sec. Did I miss a part? I saw second. Okay. I think we missed a little bit of the chapter, but okay. She couldn't help but huff out a short laugh at how the feel of cold metal suddenly made her feel a little better. But how in the world had she ended up taking what had Eckhart called it? A mana blade? To a tea party anyway. End of chapter.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's something missing.
There's
there.
a little bit part missing. Hold on. Just a little bit. Hold on, let me just look for it on my end. Meanwhile, please enjoy some music.
Cue the typical hold music from any telemarketing company that calls you.
Yeah, except you guys can't hear it. Only the YouTube people can, sadly.
Yeah, there are like 3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
I just opened it.
Unless I missed it, probably. I probably wasn't able to download it.
But a mana blade, that makes me think of a certain fair-headed individual that we all love.
But in these situations and all situations, Angelica was with her, if I remember right. Like she is in some capacity.
Well, we'll see. Hold on a sec. Okay, I found it. I won't show it because I had to fish it out on my phone. So I'll just find. Let's see. Oh, Akihana's with us. Hey, let me just continue finishing that chapter. She was right. Someone was watching her. She took a calming breath, and for the first time since the tea party started, she stuck her hand inside her reticule, the small bag that hung from her belt, and her fingers tightened around the small deadly object contained within. She couldn't help but huff out a short laugh at how the feel of cold metal suddenly made her feel a little better. But how in the world had she ended up taking what had Eckhart called it? A mana blade? To a tea party anyway. Okay, that's the end of the chapter. So,
well, I can definitely see why the murder doggo would recommend this to his water goddess.
Murder doggo, yes. Also, we are going to have like other Eckhart POVs regarding this mana blade. Just wait a little longer. But first, I have to figure out who in the world is watching Myne. Any guesses? Cornelius,
I'm going to guess.
Eckhart, Karsten.
Is this at Elvira's estate, or is this at? Okay,
Elvira's estate.
Well, then I'm definitely thinking it's Cornelius.
Maybe he's like, are they gonna leave me good?
Cornelius.
Maybe they were like, are they gonna leave me any good stuff to eat? Because Cornelius got hooked on the food from the salon.
Yeah, but just imagine Cornelius just sulking behind the window and like peeking out and being like, "Are they still talking? What are they talking about? Look at all that food!"
Right? He's like, it's like my spidey senses told me tanias are about this place, so I need tanias.
He's probably also thinking, why does my fiance look so angry?
Oh, yeah. By the way, in this chapter, there was a chapter where I finally gave up on trying to write noble speak. If you guys ever find noble speak, it's because from here on out to the end of this fanfic, it's because the proofreaders made me put it, like they put it in there. They said, improve it here. So, I
have to agree with them there because she is trying more and more to fit in with noble society.
I know, but I did make this disclaimer. I said also in the notes, also, I really suck at writing noble speak, and I will never reach the literary heights of other excellent fanfic writers that can write beautiful euphemisms, because I just don't aspire to use my brain to its full potential. So there. All right.
It's just whenever I'm doing like edits, I'll just be like, okay, if I'm writing the dialogue, I'll try to write it from that perspective, and I do my best as possible. But,
Fergie, I'm sending my next chapter to you. You can add all the stuff in there. Actually, you're the one that
Fergie,
did,
do all the work for her.
yeah, write all of the action scenes and write all of the noble speak. Oh my gosh. All right. So let's do the next chapter. This is the final chapter. We're gonna figure out who exactly was the person watching Myne during the tea party. All right, ready? Let's do this.
Ooh, it could also be Hardman.
Curse fierce fire. Hartmut. Note. Summary. Hartmut POV. Yes, he was the one watching Myne through the window as the tea party was going on. Because yes, in the comments of the previous chapter, people were like guessing and guessing and guessing. It was fun to see people's theories. But yes, it was Hartmut. While his sister silently stewed and fumed at the tea party, Hartmut was perched on a window seat in Cornelius's room, looking down at the group of women below. Behind him, Cornelius was sprawled in a chair, drinking vise and airing out his grievances against Lady Elvira for having invited his brother's mistress to a tea party, and against Lord Eckhart for having made a laughingstock of them all. Hartmut looked over his shoulder at his friend and clicked his tongue in annoyance. He had already heard his friend's complaints many times, and he wished his friend would shut up for once and let him concentrate. He could see faces quite clearly from the window. The problem was that, even though this was the best view of the tea party below, and it was possible for him to read lips and know what was being said, he still could not see the goddess's face. He could not see what she was saying, and he could not see her countenance in the likely event that Dolores slipped up and the goddess decided to crush her again.
No, she is no goddess. I really need to stop calling her that.
Though, technically, she was a goddess, wasn't she? She was Lord Eckhart's concubine, hence a water goddess. And who had the time to say such a mouthful as Lord Eckhart's water goddess anyway? Shortening it to the goddess just made much more sense. Cornelius interrupted his musings.
Well, are we gonna play or not?
Hartmut sighed and turned away from the window with a muted curse, giving up on catching a proper glimpse of the goddess, at least for now. Unfortunately, he'd had to resort to the pretext of playing Gewinin with Cornelius as a means to justify his coming to the Linkberg home, since his sister hadn't wanted to cooperate with him and let him tag along with her. Earlier that morning, he caught her just as she was leaving for the tea party. The coachman was about to drive away, but before the attendant could shut the carriage door and the carriage could move, Hartmut jumped in with a triumphant startling the carriage's occupants, his sister and her attendant. Next thing he knew, Dolores had slammed into him with a loud war cry. His head hit the carriage, and he felt a warning prickle at his neck. He swallowed as he looked up at the blood-red eyes of his fierce little sister. She was smaller than him, but she had the advantage of being quick as well as lethal. Plus, she had a nasty temper, and it seemed that today she was in a particularly foul mood. Understandable, considering where she was going and who she was to meet. He probably should not have taken this course of action, but then again he had only resolved to join her not too long ago. He had hoped to catch her while she was still at home.
You're leaving early.
He managed to say, albeit with a nervous laugh.
You idiot!
Dolores snarled.
What possessed you to jump in like that? Had it been anyone else but you, they would already be dead. And I would have fed them to my dogs.
She exhaled angrily, dismissed her Stab, and got off of him.
Goodness.
I have somewhere to go, so get out.
Oh, but I'm joining you.
Hartmut said without budging from his seat. Dolores looked
What?
scandalized.
What?
You're going to take me along with you.
Hartmut repeated, enunciating the words clearly and slowly, so she would know he was in earnest.
Tell the man to drive on.
That's impossible.
Dolores said, shaking her head.
This is a ladies' tea party. There is no room for you.
Hartmut gave her a refreshing smile and waved his hand.
I'll be your attendant. Or your scholar. Whatever. I don't need to actually take tea and be a part of the conversation. I just want to hear and see what happens.
To make fun of me? No doubt.
Dolores said, glowering at him.
I made the mistake of bringing you along once, and I am not repeating it again. Ever. Now, get out, or I will
Personally?
I will personally throw you out of this carriage.
Hartmut did not doubt for a second that she could, let alone would, throw him out by force. But he was confident that she would take him along. He had a secret weapon, after all. Hartmut reached into one of his pouches and pulled out an object from one of them.
I was hoping to avoid this, but you leave me no choice.
Dolores' eyes widened in surprise when she saw the sparkle of the blood-red Hersphere face stone in his hand.
You.
She breathed out in disbelief. There was a reason why they always tried to win the Hersphere face stone from each other through convoluted games and bets. Ever since they were young, they had fought over it, not because of its properties as a valuable winter ingredient, but because whoever had the stone could command the other to do something, whatever it may be, in exchange for it, and the other would have to obey, no questions asked. A pretend game, where the Hersphere face stone stood in place for a name-soaring one.
Dolores,
He said.
I order you to take me along with you to the tea party.
Dolores was rendered mute. Hartmut smiled and shook the face stone lightly, letting it sparkle invitingly.
Don't you want to have this back? All you have to do is let me join you. That's all.
You're going to use it on me for something so stupid?
Dolores asked. Hartmut did not bother to correct her. It was not a stupid request in the slightest, but he was not about to tell her how urgently he wanted to get to the bottom of his investigation. In all truth, Hartmut couldn't remember the last time he'd been so fixated on something, or someone, so worth investigating. And the thrill of uncovering secrets was as exciting to a scholar like him as the hunt of a Phoebus was to a warrior. The very day he had met the goddess, he had embarked upon an investigation to learn the identity of the woman that had, for a moment, had their lives in her hands. As a result, he had uncovered so many astonishing things from his investigation. He learned about her past and about her current life as a mistress, which was a mass of contradictions that he wanted to get to the bottom of. He wished he could talk about it with someone, but he was sure if he told anyone they would surely misconstrue it and give it some kind of sentimental spin, which was far from the case. He had no interest in pursuing another man's mistress. It was imperative that he have another glimpse of the goddess, and it would be the greatest of blessings if he could have the chance to hear her, to speak to her as well. He needed to have one final chance to judge her objectively before he did something drastic and set the wheels in motion for a scheme that would probably end up with him becoming unemployed if it was not well executed.
Are you doing this?
Dolores asked, suspicion plainly written across her face.
She's a dangerous element,
He replied.
I only wish to ensure that you will not be harmed.
His sister scoffed.
Lies.
He smirked and shrugged.
We're going to be late. Shouldn't we get going?
She crossed her arms.
No. Get out of the carriage and take your stupid face stone with you. I'm tired of playing these childish games of yours.
Hartmut's eyes widened in surprise. The face stone was the only way that she had ever been able to make him do anything. In fact, had it not been for it, she would never have been able to get his cooperation in securing Cornelius. Was she really giving it up? How boring and how disappointing.
I see.
Hartmut said in a colder tone as he put away the face stone.
I've been too soft on you all this time. In consideration of your tender age and how we are family and all that. But you are right. It's high time I treat you as I would any other adult.
Dolores was silent, but she looked a little alarmed at his changing tone. Hartmut smiled evilly. She was right to be on her guard.
And how about this for a change?
He said, leaning forward.
You will contrive a way for me to talk to the goddess, or I will tell my good friend Cornelius how you managed to ruin his relationship with Leonore when you were just a tiny first-year student.
Dolores went pale. Hartmut continued on.
Shall I tell him how Hirsch's fire helped you stage the attack? How when you infused it with your mana...
Shut up.
She yelled. Hartmut raised an eyebrow mockingly and pointedly glanced at Dolores' attendant. The woman had not said a word all this time, but Hartmut was sure that she had perfectly working ears and a wagging tongue. If not, Dolores could have easily countered with the fact that he had also been complicit in that particular crime of hers. But to do so would invite more incriminating things to come out. Dolores hung her head in defeat. She knew that he never bluffed, and he would be as merciless with her as he was with anyone who dared to cross him.
I don't promise anything,
She said, extending her hand.
but I'll try.
Hartmut pretended he did not see her opened hand. She was expecting him to give her the face stone, but unfortunately for her, he had decided that blackmailing his little sister was a far more amusing game. There was no going back now that the sweet thrill of victory raced intoxicatingly along his veins.
Good girl.
Hartmut said, crossing his arms and leaning back in the seat.
Now let us go.
Dolores looked ready to cry, probably because she had lost, or because she was just that angry. But nevertheless, she gave the signal. The carriage started moving. Hartmut continued prattling on, talking about this and that as they made their way to the Linkberg home. It didn't matter there was just him talking to himself, while Dolores looked like she was about to murder him. He had no problem coming up with topics of small talk, and given how merry his heart was, he was sure he could go on for hours. But when they alighted and parted ways, she to the garden, and he to his friend's room upstairs, he pretended not to notice how it hurt a little when he heard his little sister's words, spoken oh so softly, but definitely spoken from the heart.
I hate you.
End of chapter. So, we have Hartmut and Dolores being hateful.
Yeah, Dolores seems more and more like Wednesday every time we read her.
Well, she just doesn't have straight hair, but she does have the black hair. It's just curly. Who would... I don't know, like, I figure that she's stronger than Hartmut, because she's, like, a fairly tall, very strong woman, or girl. But Hartmut is just ruthless. You just can't win against Hartmut. So he's being kind of mean to her. It's her little sister.
Well, I have less and less sympathy for her with these revelations that we have in this chapter.
Oh.
Yeah, I really love Lenore, so the fact that she conspired to remove Lenore from the picture, yeah, that I'm kind of upset about that.
Yeah. I mean, there were people in the comments in this one that were like, well, now we know what happened, and they were like saying like how sad they really were angry at Dolores for having done that. But then others counted with like, yeah, but Cornelius in this weeb, he was basically a lout. He did not deserve Leonore, who was like so smart and such a steady girl. Like, he did not deserve her in this weeb, so so in a way
I get that, and I definitely agree, and it is thrilling to see how everything changes with just, you know, one person plucked from their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so don't you guys worry though, like we will get Leonore at some point in the story and more clarification. I wasn't going to write the backstory, but eventually I just caved in and did include the backstory of the her sphere and how it worked and how Leonore got all of that. It'll be explained, but not yet. In time, it will.
Well, I'm glad that peer pressure was able to get you to actually write it.
Yes. Yeah, it was rather. But yeah, we see the her sphere, which was introduced in like a few chapters ago. It's now something that they use to like force each other to do something. It's a stupid childish games. I remember I used to play something like that with my cousin. I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I used to play like that, like, okay, I have the thing, and if you want it back, you have to do what I want. And sometimes it was really like stupid stuff, like go get me some water or something like that. Or sometimes it was like go down the street, it's late at night, and get me a snack or something like that. So it could be like, anyway, that was me in my childhood. So I just kind of like drew from that story and kind of like played with it a little.
I like it.
So you guys, we have in the next read along, which will be Monday, unless I'm sick, but I'm drinking my water, I'm taking my things so that I don't get sick. On Monday we will read next chapter. It's an Eckhart POV and the Mana Blade. So we have Mana Blade shenanigans, or so people can assume, because what happens when you have a Mana Blade, everybody's like, Sten Luke? Who knows? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe she'll apply her mana in a way that gets her a talking mana blade.
Right? That would be lovely, because we do miss a Sten Luke. Also, eventually we will learn, speaking of Sten Luke, we will learn what happened to Angelica. So she is in this weeb, and she will come up. So be on the lookout for that, probably in the next few chapters.
I just made a meme of Hartmut hiding behind blinds, but I am trying to figure out how do you post a photo.
So on Discord, do you see where at the bottom where you type stuff? There's like a plus sign. Are you on your phone or are you on the desktop?
I'm on the laptop.
Okay. So do you see like where you type the message, there's like a plus sign on the right?
Yeah.
Click on it.
Yeah. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Awesome. Yes. Technology tutorials with Magpie. Just don't make it too difficult, and I can help you. That's something I can help you with.
Okay, I'm done.
Where is it at? Where is it?
In the general here on the chat.
General in the chat?
Oh, this chat.
Oh, okay,
This
got
chat.
it. I'm gonna show it. Let's see, where are we? Here we go. There, do you guys see it?
Oh no.
Sorry, I looked away.
There we go. Hartmut
Yeah, it's
during
on
the tea
YouTube
party
now.
in chapter 33 of A World Away. Yeah, I do love a good office meme. Thanks. Excellent meme. It's quality meme right there.
glad.
Yeah. So Hartmut. You guys know that I think my third favorite character in all of Bookworm is Hartmut. So first it's, of course, Rosamund and Ferdinand. But then it's Hartmut. So yeah,
I'm
Yes!
surprised that I'm surprised that Elvira's not up there.
I know, but what can I say? His shenanigans, they're just so funny to me. Elvira is amazing. She's like on a different tier list though. She's like characters I want to meet or something like that. I don't know.
Emulate?
Yeah, or meet. I want them to exist in real life and I want to meet them. Probably not a Hartmut. I don't think I could handle a Hartmut or a Clarissa type. Just could not.
Yeah, but I love Hartmut. I love Hartmut. He's so fun.
You know what? It's
Every
kind.
time.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're an introvert, you really admire the extroverts, but you just can't stand them. Like you admire them, but you cannot be around them for too long, and that's the situation with Hartmut. I like their shenanigans, but I just could not be around them.
Neither can Rosamund. She's like, okay, this is too much. This is too much all the time.
Oh man, now I feel for Rosamund. Oh, the poor dear.
I always feel for Rosamund when it comes to both Hartmut and Clarissa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think, like, oh my god, there are so many people who, like, are full of themselves who would love to just have a Hartmut, like, just singing them praise. Meanwhile, Rosamund is like, just shut up! I'm a normal person, I'm not doing anything special. I'm not a saint. I swear to God, all the saints are, all the gods are at my behest, but I'm not a saint, I swear.
I'm loving this comment by Akihana. Hey Akihana says, I don't think even extroverts can stand Hartmut. Right. By the way, you guys, in this shoot, no, I shouldn't talk about it. Never mind. I won't talk about it.
No, talk about it.
well,
Talk about
I
it. I
was-
want to hear.
I was gonna talk about the Zent in this world. Because
Yes, the useless man.
yeah, because the vixen married a random professor, and turned out to be. So Eckhart was very outraged on the fact that this woman did not want to marry. Like, who could be better than Ferdinand? How dare she just go and marry some random professor? But you know, it all worked for the best, I suppose.
Yeah, but like the sentence of just like, yeah, some just our professor, like just a random dude. Yeah, she just married him. I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't even say that it was the king or anything like that. She's just like, she just married some professor. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
and Eckhart basically, like Rosamund just knows what she's told. Like she doesn't know what everything in the country is going on. So she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she doesn't know all the chisme, all the gossip of, you know, behind the events. I mean, she knows like history in general. That was part of her Noble's education, but it's more like as a kind of like in an abstract sort of way, like events that happen far away, and it's like whatever. Like, I'm just living my life here, whereas Rosamund was in the middle of it all. She saw the king, she saw the vixen. You guys can tell. Back when I was writing this one, I still was not quite. I had not yet forgiven Magdalena for for what she did, for turning down Ferdinand, or for at least like not, like whatever. So I was writing from the heart. I was like, she's a vixen and I don't like her. So take that. So yeah, I needed to get that
What
off
is
my
your
chest.
opinion of her
Magdalena.
now?
Pardon? Now? You know what? I'm like, well, it all worked for the best, and she is a fierce woman. I respect her. She's not on the same level as Sieglind and Elvira, who are like, to me, like the best, like admirable women. She's not. I mean,
I still love Magdalena though.
oh yeah, I like her. In spite of her foolish youthfulness, her foolish picadillo, but
You're still salty that she rejected Ferdinand.
how could she reject Ferdinand? How dare she reject Ferdinand? Come on. So,
Well, I guess that answers Akihana's question, because
is
you
it?
have not forgiven her.
I have, in a way. Like, I have forgiven her. I just haven't forgotten, Like, you can't forget. You can't forgive, but you're not entitled to forget. Like,
Chat, that means that she hasn't forgiven her.
yeah, exactly. Akihana says, the thing is, you could still love someone without forgiving them. I don't know about love someone, but you could still like do day-to-day stuff with somebody.
Love is a strong word.
Love is a strong word. Look, I've gone through several breakups, both friends and people, and I forgive them, but does that mean I will give them the same trust that I would? No.
Shall I mention that I still love Eglantine, even though I definitely do not agree with some of her choices?
Well, that's good on you. You were a simp from the beginning. Obviously, you're going to be like lenient on her, but I never will or shall forget. I cannot forget. Magpie does not forget. So
Apparently Magpie doesn't forgive either.
don't get on my wrong side, everybody. I will remember. Oh man.
And yet I play this dance every time.
What kind of person does not forget? Anyway. All right, everybody. So I had a lot of fun reading this. I hope you did too. We are officially, let's see, we're a third of the way into the story, chapters number wise. The original story, or the story that we're doing, has 102 chapters or 101 chapters. So we still have quite a bit of story to go to. So please stay tuned. If you want to know, like, are desperate to know what's happening and what's going to happen with the Manor Blade, with Eckhart, with Myne, with Dolores, and everybody else, and this world, and of course Ferdinand, but Ferdinand's just wallowing in misery, then do be sure to check out the original work, A World Away. Link is on my description. If you want to join us for a read-along, if you want to nab a roll next time that we read the next chapters, do join me on Ko-fi, become a member on Ko-fi, and then hop aboard the this server. We have lots of fun and we read stuff. We have members only recordings and events, and so it's plenty of fun. I recommend it. Plus, I will love you forever if you do so. All right, everybody.
Oh, there she goes with a slight bribe.
Yes. That's actually, bribe is a very strong word. Appreciation. All right, so you guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We will see you on Monday for the next read along, or if you are on the server, we have events going on over the weekend, so check those out. Anything else that I'm forgetting, you guys? I think that's it, right? Yes. Like, comment, share. There we go. All right, everybody. Thank you for reading. And again, thank you to Teal, who highlighted these these chapters and to the following people who read. Eckhart was read by Patrick. Lord Vicentius was read by JC Fergie. By the way, Fergie, that Lord Vicentius voice, so good. So good.
Yes,
You
yes.
enjoyed it.
Magpie should have written more lines for him.
I know. I should have. I didn't want to stop you while saying it because you were in the middle of talking, but I wanted to like just go on like, wow, that's an amazing old man voice. Good on you. Excellent.
Yay.
Instead, chat had to suffer through my stumbling through my lines.
That's fine.
You guys all did great. Also, thank you to Yukihime who read Myne. Little Purple Butterfly who read Florencia and Dolores. Good job with the Dolores.
It was really fun reading.
Right? Yeah, Dolores is one of my favorite characters. I know she's evil and horrible, but I can't help it. She's my poor broken baby. We'll get more
She's
of
our
her.
Detland of your fanfic.
I don't know, you guys. I guess you could say that at this point. She is the Detland, I suppose. She's just Detland, but with muscles, I guess. At least she's good for something.
And with brains. She actually has brains.
She does. Except that there's no match for Hartmut, who just found out that next to winning bets and wagers, now he likes to blackmail her. So great. Good on you, Dolores. You are now grown up. You will now be treated as a grown up by your brother. Good luck. And finally, we had Fergie read Hartmut. Great job with that, Hartmut. And of course, at the end, we had also Patrick with a one-liner Cornelius.
Yay! I honestly expected Cornelius to have more lines, but I didn't read that far into the chapter.
There you go. That's what happens when you don't read ahead. You should read ahead. You might as well.
And ruin my surprise when things happen?
Probably, huh? All right. Let's call it a day for today, and hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Thank you, gang, and say bye-bye.
Bye-bye!
Bye, chat.
Adieu.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.